And welcome back to another wonderful video. I'm Joshua Haddad and this is A.T.I Draws. I'd like to thank you guys for stopping by for another wonderful video. Are you struggling with learning your anatomy and wonder how to effectively draw heads, how to draw arms, and just understand certain techniques to help you draw your characters better? Well, you come to the right place. I spent this whole month, and I'm spending this month, learning how to draw anatomy. I spent week 1 learning different ways you could draw anatomy, week 2 on how to draw torsos, and this week on how to draw heads and arms. So, if you want to learn heads and arms, and you want to do a quick recap, and you come to the right place. So, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Alright, so to open up, let's talk about drawing heads. So there's two main ways you could draw heads. It is the classic circle and line method, where you just draw a circle, a regular circle, and just draw a straight line going down, or arch line, depending on wherever your character's looking or the perspective, and you just connect the jaw. You just connect it from the circle, either slightly inside, halfway inside, or from the very end of the circle, depending on where your character's looking, and you just connect a chin. It gives you more control over the proportions and angles, is good for any type of art no matter what you do, and it's just very effective overall. So I know many artists like myself, we tend to use this style of drawing. So, I modify mine a bit, as I tend to draw more the Loomis for the guys and this method for the girls, but either way, this method works very well. Now, the second method you can do in order for you to draw heads is the egg or an oval shaped head. This is a very fast style of drawing a head, and I only really recommend it if you're doing loose character sketches or you're completing a very quick animation that you don't want to spend a lot of time on, or you're just doing a very quick sketch, I guess, just to get the character shapes out. That's the only reason I'll recommend this. Outside of that, just stick to a regular circle and line method. Take time with your art. But this method is basically where you draw an egg-shaped head, where the basically upside down. You just flip the canvas around, or if you're drawing on traditionally, just flip your paper around. Draw a shape of an egg. The narrow part becomes a chin, and the wide base of the egg is the top part of the head. And then you can draw a line down the middle for orientation. You could draw a cross for orientation. I prefer line down because drawing a line down is more easier for you to draw eyes and eyebrows, but to each their own. But this is a very fast way for you to draw heads. Now, let's move on to arms. Now, arms are relatively simple. They are usually constructed in one of two major ways. You can use the third method, but mainly two ways. The cylinder method, in which most people tend to approach this, is basically the go-to construction approach, in which you draw a sphere for the shoulder, a circle for a shoulder. You then draw the upper arm as a cylinder. Then you connect that to a sphere for the elbow. And then you could draw another cylinder for the forearm. And then you connect that with the hand. And then you add more details on the top after you have the shape down. Some people like to start out with drawing the shoulder, then draw the hand, then connect everything together as it makes your arms more aligned. But some people are more naturally gifted at anatomy, and they're able to get these things done relatively fast. This is a method I tend to use myself, but again, I usually like mine with some type of gesture line to follow. But this is my go-to approach to how I draw things. And speaking of gesture lines, that actually is the next approach. The gesture line and shape method. This is where you basically take a flowing line, a straight flowing, just a directional line based off where you want the arm's motion or how you want the character's arm to be posed. This is a very good approach, similar to how the first video I mentioned on week 1 about how there is the gesture line tiled of drawing anatomy, in which you draw a line and draw poses through it. I figured that having some type of gesture line actually really does help with construction. That's what I personally tend to use. But to continue on this gesture line approach, you then draw long teardrops for the upper arm and the forearm, and you create a circular oval shape for the arm. Basically, you just draw the actual image. It's supposed to be very fast, very fluid, and the hand obviously retains its blocky shape. This is supposed to be a method that keeps your drawings alive without giving you a stiff feel with your art. Again, I do recommend combining most approaches together, like how I'm doing now. But both are very good approaches to drawing arms. The third approach is similar to what we discussed back in week 1, the muscle approach. Some people like to just flat out draw the muscles out on the arms in order to sculpt the arms together. That is not a bad approach. A lot of people, though, it will be more preferred for a lot of beginners to draw this construction approach with a gestured line, like I mentioned before, then add the muscles on top. Now, to basically recap now on my current progress, as you can see, I have a quick time lapse up of the title image that we'll be using, just so you can see how I effectively crafted up my characters in the recent time. My anatomy has improved quite a lot since the last time we actually went over anatomy. The way I sculpt heads, the more confident I feel now in drawing my characters. The way I'm able to now effectively look at what is missing feels more comfortable now. I didn't really reference at all before, but there were a lot of things muscle-wise that I did have to reference. Now I don't really need to as much anymore, and oftentimes I just really wing it. But focusing on muscles, I kind of got some stuff down now where it's not I need to rely on the muscles anymore in order for me to effectively draw the characters anymore. But focusing back on what I've been able to accomplish, I finally found a way to effectively construct the body, the torsos, and put everything together. I find that using like an upper box construction like method for the torsos allowed my builds to kind of construct more better, using the cylinders for the intersection of the body and then connecting it together using the muscles of the abs, and to connect down to the hips of the pelvis, the ends of the pelvis, basically creating the inner thigh shape that we need in order for us to effectively draw thighs, and then learning how to construct it. I'm trying to learn more, especially about things like how the body works, related with like hip dips and how pelvis works and other things. But learning these little details, it helped me out quite a lot when it comes to constructing my overall anatomy. So I think I made great improvements overall just in these 3 weeks. So with 2 more weeks left to go, I like to say we're making great progress so far. We will obviously see greater improvement regarding this anatomy journey, and we will be able to make more larger and larger adjustments regarding art in itself. So now, I want to thank you guys for joining me to today's video. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope you guys learned something overall. And thank you just for stopping by again for today's video. It's a deep appreciation, and I'll catch you guys again next week.